Hello and welcome to Healthcare Economics Policy. My name is James Kemper and I'll be a professor for this course. This is going to be a short introductory video on how to navigate your course in Sakai, and also I'm going to touch on a few of the main points, things you need to know as well. With that being said, now that you have a face to put with the name that you'll see throughout the semester, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Alright, when you first log into Sakai, your screen will actually look very similar to this screen. This specific course hasn't been published yet. That's why it says unpublished at the top. I don't foresee very much changing, and if it does, I will let you know. I'm not going to cover every single thing within your course, just point out some of the important information you need to know, as well as give you an idea of how the course is set up and some pointers on how to best study for the course and approach it so that you can be successful. In the center, you'll find course information describing the course, as well as institution and program information for the Health Sciences Center, School of Health Professions, and the MSHA program. Real quickly, I want to point out down here, there's some writing tools. There's the library for the Health Sciences Center, which gives you access to a database that contains lots and lots of articles, as well as the writing center below that gives you some tips and tools to access that. There is one major paper, that's why I wanted to highlight that briefly. Alright, so on the right hand side you'll find some communication and notification tools, the top being the announcements. I will typically send out one announcement per week, sometimes more, but not that many, I promise. I don't want to overdo it and bog down your email and messaging systems to where you kind of tone out the announcements. When I do send an announcement, I like to highlight what's coming up or due and maybe send a reminder or something, as well as talk about some current events that apply to the topics that we are learning in the class. Below that is the calendar. That's pretty self-intuitive. And below that is the message center. Now, since I'm talking about this, I might as well point it out. I prefer you to use the Sakai messages and message center to send any questions or messages you have. However, email works as well. I'm not going to say you have to do only one. What will help though is if you do send me an email, make sure you include your name in that. And lastly, I respond within 24 hours on weekdays and within 48 hours on the weekends. If you ask a question that is math related and needs a lot more detail, then I may send you a quick message just saying I'll get back to you as quick as I can. Right now I can't write out a long email, and as soon as I can I'll send you a longer email that's more detailed to answer the math question fully. Now on that note, because some of you might be a little bit worried, I promise the math is not a big component of the class, maybe 25 to 30%. I promise it's not going to be overly difficult, but there are formulas that you'll need to know for the exams as well as the assignment in the class. I will do my best to explain any math that you come across that we will actually use. I'll try to provide videos when I can, as well as answer any questions you might have too. That being said, don't freak out about the math. You can still do well even if math is not your strong point. And it's only college algebra level, so don't worry about any calculus or anything like that. Alright, on that note, let's go ahead and talk about these tools on the left-hand side. So the syllabus, obviously that's the most important thing that you need to look at first. The textbook, I want to go ahead and apologize. It is a little bit older. There's not a lot of options for us to use, and it's one of the better ones available. There's just, like I said, not that many options for this specific course. And it hasn't been updated. So anytime there's information that I want to update and give you, I will do my best to pass that along. And the font is in purple and it's very annoying. I get that and I apologize. I don't understand why you would print a textbook with a colored font like that, but I digress. Like I said, messaging, email, or Sakai messages work. Below that, you'll see a course schedule. I don't foresee this specific one changing, but I promise you'll have the most updated version on your screen. And if I use this video in the future, that'll be updated as well, obviously, for future courses. One thing to note is whenever there's a really major
assignment, I try my best to not assign discussions or other assignments during that time period. So for example, your evaluation problem, you won't have to do another assignment. Your first exam, midterm, critical review paper, that's the only assignment you'll have to do that week. Except for the last week, you have a discussion and a final exam. The reason is it's an 8-week course. And as you can see, there are a lot of chapters we have to cover quickly. And that's the nature of an 8-week course. That being said, I'll talk a little bit more about this in the future, but the way you can best learn and be successful in this course is not by memorizing every single thing in the chapter or on the PowerPoints. The PowerPoints actually come from the textbook publisher themselves. I'm working on making my own PowerPoints, but I have made a study guide, and I'll show you that in a second. That's going to be the best thing for you to use as you read the chapter and the PowerPoints, to kind of use both of them together, or all three of those tools, I guess you could say, as you make notes, to really know what you're going to need to focus on. All right, one other quick thing. The last exam, and I'm going to use this video in the future for other classes, so this date may be a little bit off, but make sure you pay attention to when the discussion and last exam are due. This specific one in spring of 2022, the exam and last discussion are going to be due on March 4th, which is a Friday, not a Sunday. Most exams, or assignments I should say, are due Sunday unless otherwise specified. Okay, so method of evaluation, this is what you really want to know. How are you graded? Well, there are 500 points total. You have 100 points for discussions, 20 points each, 5 discussions. Your first discussion that's going to be due this first week is an introductory discussion. After that, I'll explain the discussions a little bit more in detail, but after that they get a little bit more controversial and detailed. The evaluation problem is worth 100 points. Your critical review paper is worth 100 points, and you'll have 2 exams that are worth 100 points each. So discussions. I know you're probably thinking, how are they graded? What do I need to do to just make my A or 100? Well, first off, you are grad students, so I expect you to be posting in a timely manner, but I do know that everybody's busy, very busy, especially over the last few years. So discussions, you need to post your first post by Thursday of the week that they're due. And that's very important, so that way we can have more dialogue. Can't wait till the last minute or you will lose some points. Try to have at least 250 to 300 words and cite your sources. Now, I don't really care about grammar and how you cite your sources specifically, other than that you just at the bottom have some sources listed. I'm not going to count off on that particular part. It's not like your actual paper. But if you are citing something, an outside source, make sure that you credit it at the bottom. Heads up, my discussions tend to be a little controversial in nature, and the reason why is that in the real world, things are not just easy and black and white. They're very gray. Whether we're talking about things that deal with the pandemic, or maybe a topic such as physician-assisted suicide, which is very difficult to talk about, but it's one that applies when we're talking about economics and healthcare, and one that we have to be able to talk about, especially those of you who are going to be healthcare managers and in leadership positions. You need to be able to discuss very difficult things and do in a very respectful way, right? All right. The economic evaluation problem, I'm going to give you a lot more information on that, how it's graded, as well as how the assignment's set up itself. I'll try to open up the assignment at least a week before it actually should open up, I should say. So I'll give you 2 weeks before it's actually due, so you have some more time to do it. It will be a math-related problem that once you figure out the problem, you'll actually interpret the results and write out a short answer for that. Your critical review paper, there'll be a lot more information on exams. This is pretty self-explanatory, but one thing I do want to highlight, I said this a little bit earlier, but you're going to have a review that I'm going to give you the very first week of class. Use that so that you can take notes as you go along, reading each chapter and looking at the PowerPoints, things like that. Make sure that you use that review as a guide for your exam so that once you take the exam, you're a little bit more prepared. Now, your exams are going to be a believe 50 questions and 120 minutes, maybe 130, I'm not sure. At least 120 minutes should be ample time. The exams are all true, false, multiple choice, and you'll know your grade instantly. You won't know what you missed until the exam actually closes the week of. Just make sure that you know that every question is worth the same amount of points and don't spend too much time on any one question. Below that, you will see all the information regarding school policies, very important information below that you can go read on your own. There is a syllabus for you to save and print off at the bottom that matches that one in Sakai, as well as a course schedule that I have made to where you can print this and save it to your computer without having to look at the whole entire syllabus every time. Alright, because I don't want to make this a really long video, I'm not going to go through all of the information over here in a lot of detail, other than you should understand how announcements and messages work. Here's where you'll find discussions under forums. When they come available, they'll be there each week. Remember, make sure you post your first initial discussion post by Thursday, and you must have at least 2 more posts after that, either replying or asking questions. I do think that in the future, after the first introductory discussion, I should say, there'll be enough controversy, maybe, at least clarifications and disagreement, that you'll have enough to dialogue over. Course content. So this is where you'll find each weekly folder. Now the first week I've already opened just so that it'll be there when I actually publish the course and it starts. You'll find at the top of each week an overview of what you can expect for that particular week. Then you'll find the chapters that are covered and the objectives of each chapter. Here is that midterm review. Make sure that you copy this, save it, whatever you need to, before you actually start reading the book. So that way you can go through and make notes and find various things to highlight, focus on. Alright. Below that, you'll find supplemental information, PowerPoints, which these PowerPoints do come from the actual textbook publisher. I am thinking about making my own PowerPoints. At this point, I just have that review made for y'all, but the PowerPoints are there as well. Don't spend a lot of time covering things that are not in the review, especially the math and graphs, because this is not a math heavily focused course or even a program. It's mostly focused on the conceptual and applicability of it. Don't spend a lot of time on that in the PowerPoints either. Just use them as more supplemental information. You can find videos as well that I think will help explain various concepts. The assignments, so whenever the major assignment, the economic evaluation problems, or problem opens up, that assignment will be here located, all the information, as well as the critical review paper that you'll have to do for the class. Test quizzes, that's where you're going to find your exams. Gradebook should be pretty explanatory. This is where you'll find your grades for each of the assignments. As you can see, there's a bonus. So at the very end of the semester, I will offer a bonus for filling out the evaluation for the course, just as a nice little gesture, because it does help us as well, and we need you to fill out those evaluations. And I can't see them too until after they've actually, or after the grades have been posted. So it's not as though I can bribe you with this bonus, but it does help us know how to improve the course overall, right? And what you thought. Calendar is pretty self-explanatory, IT support, etc. Alright, last thing I'll say is if you have any questions at all, just please do not hesitate to ask. And if you send me an email or a message and I don't reply within a day, feel free to ask again. Hey, did you get that email? There's times where if you send it, especially from a personal email, which I don't recommend, it might go to my junk folder. I might not see it immediately or something like that. So feel free to check in anytime you need to on anything. On that note, good luck, and I hope you enjoy the course.